I'm Jeannie Steele. I danced with Merce for a period of 16 years. In that time it was as an apprentice, as a company member, and then I also served as a rehearsal assistant. During that time I also started to teach the technique and stage the work, and my first company that I ever did a staging on was Rambert. So I have a very long history sharing Merce's work with British dancers and dancers from all over through the context of Rambert. I moved to the UK in 2007 to take a job at London Contemporary Dance School, where I still am. And fortunately, I still get to work with different companies from time to time, staging the work, which really keeps my practice and my own experience of the work very much alive. And that's really what we, as a legacy of Merce, want to make sure that his work is in living bodies, living minds with living spirit. This lovely spirit asked me to come and help him to remount a solo from a piece called RainForest, which is a piece that I originally staged right after Mercer's passing in fall of 2009, and it was premiered at Sadler's in 2010, I think, May 2010. And then Liam ended up performing the solo in 2016 or 17. So this is where I first met Liam.
The solo from RainForest in particular, I remember seeing when I was 16. They came to Brighton, where I grew up, and I remember seeing the performance at the Brighton Theatre Royal. Then 5 years later, I got to start learning the work. I didn't yet perform the solo, I was in the other aspects of the work, but then I got to start learning the solo and performing it when I was 26. There was like a decade between when I first saw it on stage and when I first had the opportunity to perform it. Now there's been like another 6 years passing and I'm revisiting the solo. And this week has so far been really interesting because we realise we have had like a lot of time to focus on 3 minutes. And we've had the privilege of talking a lot, and we realised that in the studio you're very much focused on getting the shape done and learning it and getting it ready for performance, but we've had the chance to talk a lot about
the performing itself
and philosophies of Merce's work and the concept of performance and how we change with
years.
And there's been 15 years since I first saw the solo to now, and kind of how I've changed from those different periods of engaging with the work and the solo. I remember studying Cunningham at school and really feeling like I enjoyed it, but I didn't really understand it. And then when I saw the work on stage, I was like, oh, like it's for this. Like it's to facilitate and to equip you to do this sort of work. Since I began doing the repertoire, like it just really resonated with me. And we were speaking about this earlier, the idea that it kind of, for me, like affords a flow state because there is so much to attend to whilst you're doing it, that there's this real opportunity to get, I was going to say get lost, but just to be present. And I think there's this common misconception that it's like the structure of it is quite binding, but there's so much freedom that can be found.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of choice making.
That's something that we've been speaking about a lot.
It's really interesting, and like Liam said, when you do a staging on a different company, or you don't get the opportunity to really talk about in depth the work, but also to talk about the experience of doing the work and to be able to pass on kind of, you know, I changed a lot from the time I started doing the work until I finished, and even now I'm still rethinking things about it and still through my experience with others. So to be able to talk with Liam about his experience and to be able to witness already from age 26 to age 31 how differently he's approaching the solo based on all of the different influences that he's encountered from that point to this point. And I think that that's one of the things that's so beautiful about Merce's work, because it's not attached to a place and time. It's not attached to a narrative or to a piece of music. It's allowed to kind of evolve. Even in the time that I was in the company, I watched dancers come in and out of the company, and never once did I hear Merce say, could you do it like that girl did it? Could you do it like they did it? He always welcomed the newness of a new human being inhabiting the work. So that means that every time I come into a studio with a new person, I get to see the work live again, and I know that he's, you know, really, really still present in a very meaningful, authentic way, rather than just replicated.
We spoke a lot about like form coming from action and this notion of being inside, which is very nourishing. Something that we've been doing is watching videos of different versions of the solo on the Cunningham dance capsule.
They range from 1970 to 2011. So he's got a whole different stretch of time and people with different proportions, different heights, different senses of weight, different sense of dynamics. And I think what's really important is that Liam and any dancer that encounters Merce's work, it's understood that now it's their turn, that it's not them needing to do what they're doing on the screen or copy, but to really invest. It's quite a lot for a dancer, but when you do that, it gives you then a different sense of agency and, I guess, ownership of the work. And for a man like Merce, who was so prolific and so incredible and such an incredible choreographer, to give that kind of trust and license to each individual that did the work when he was alive and now that he's gone. It's quite profound to me.